Hello and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Last week, a delegation of Penan from Mulu travelled some 500 kilometres to submit a petition to the Sarawak government calling for the designation of Mago as a UNESCO biosphere reserve. Now, Mago is home to the last semi-nomadic Penan tribe, where logging activities threaten both their cultural heritage and the rainforest's rich biodiversity. But will the UNESCO status be enough to protect one of Malaysia's last untouched rainforests and home of the Penan people from further destruction? Joining me on the show now is Komeok Joe, who is head of Keruan, which is a grassroots Penan civil society group. Uncle Komeok, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I appreciate your time. Now, can you tell us a little bit about this call for Mago to be classified as a UNESCO biosphere reserve? I mean, what does this mean, or what might it mean if it was given for the Penan people and the way of life that is deeply connected to the forest?
Thank you, and good afternoon, Melisa and John. As we had the Astro AWANI for given the opportunity for me to share a little bit about what Soko is a Mago purpose reserve for the Penan, nomadic Penan in Sarawak. I'm Komeok Joe. I'm the Penan from Baram. I'm the coordinator of Keruan. Keruan is founded by me since 1995. I was working for the community grassroots level since, and two advocates about the institute of Keruan of the Penan. So here I would like to say a little bit like what I said that last week we went to Kuching, to the capital of Sarawak, to try to meeting with the Premier of Sarawak. Unfortunately, he is not around, so we delivered the declaration of the proposed Mago reserve. And it was 2 days ago. We went again to. I myself hand over the declaration to the vice president of the Premier of Sarawak, that to Awang Teng Asad, doing the conservation about the forest. So here I would like to say a little bit about Mago. It's with the background. I will try my best to tell you whoever coming to the life. So today, then, and Mago is the area around on the 5th division in Sarawak. It's the area where Penan, nomadic Penan live. So we the Eastern Penan from the Mago area and native people on our land, and have lived in the forest since time immemorial. We are the last nomadic in Sarawak, and forests have provided us with everything we need to live. We are the last nomadic in Sarawak, and forests have provided us with everything we need to live. We have always been heavily dependent on forests for our survival and do not want further the forestation activities to threaten our forests and our living people without any concern. Okay? Since 1998, our generation and our parents' generation have been setting up blockade to protect our forests from deforestation. The blockade is in our area have been reported worldwide, and thanks to the blockade, we have been able to preserve some of our forests to this day. The current Premier of Sarawak, Tun Abang Haji Openg, was the Minister of Penan Affairs and visited Lamin Lajang, explore the blockade of the Penan and Klabit communities in Long Nape on the 10 October 1989. This is a good figure.
Right.
Number 10 is a very good for me. The
Uncle,
Penang Municipal Commission to State Planning Department to conduct the study on the Penang, which
okay.
identifies several biosphere reserve, UNESCO main and biosphere reserve.
Right. Uncle Komeok, if I may ask you, maybe you can elaborate for us or explain more about what are the challenges that the Penang community faces when it comes to protecting the land and the forest from logging. You talked about the blockades. We've all heard about the blockades, but how successful has that been in protecting some of the land? And can the UNESCO status make a difference?
Okay, it was the blockade. The Penang people have erected the blockade since 1987. There are several, there are dozens of blockades have been erected by the Penang, and hundreds of Penang people get arrested. I think through this blockade, that's why in the Mago area we have still got forest left there for the Penang. So I think through this, the planning department of conduct study for the Penang, which is identified as biosphere reserve, UNESCO main and biosphere reserve, the Dominic Penang in Toto and Mago area have covered 6,735 kilometers square. This is the forest that is untouched forest because of that blockade. This is very good. Because of the blockade, the Penang have the forest left. That's why now we try to lobby this to IUCN, UNESCO, and yeah, to protect this forest for the Penang. This is the last hunters and gatherers in Sarawak, the Penang in Mago. Yeah, this is they try to protect this forest, and without forest they cannot survive. They cannot living like people who living in the longhouse. Until today, they are living in the forest. They're relying on the forest to survive. This is the Penang in Mago.
So, do you need to go through the Sarawak government to get the UNESCO status, or do you go directly to the UN for you to be considered, for Mago to be considered as a biosphere reserve?
Actually, that's why we last week and 2 days ago we hand over the declaration to the state government, the highest authority in Sarawak. That's I hope they can open their ear and eye to see and hear the demand of the Nomadic Penang. And of course, I went several times. I went to UNESCO and to IUCN. Last May, I went to UNESCO and IUCN to deliver the demand of the Penang for this result.
Oh, okay, so you went directly to the UN to petition for the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve status. Can I ask you, Uncle Komeok, when we think about when you think about the future of the Penang people, the last nomadic tribe, the last hunter-gatherers of the forest, how do you envision the future? And are you hopeful that your rights will be respected and protected?
For me, it is that if you see the declaration of indigenous people right through UNRIT state that the indigenous people have the right to maintain the development and political, economic and social system of institution to be secure, to be enjoyment of their own means to sustain and development and to engage freely in their traditional and economic activities. We should have the possibility to create alternative livelihood, traditional and the economic and sustainable activity, and the local community have should be the managing the best project for our own. Without that, the nomadic Penang will not cannot continue survival. This is what our demand, that we have the rights. Let give them the right. The government should give them the right to choose whatever development, what situation or whatever life they choose. Like the fish throw to the riverbed. If the fish is thrown to the riverbed, they will die. The same to the penan. If penan, they just throw into the open development, I mean, like into the longhouse or to make farming where they're not used to be, they will cannot survive. That's how it's depend to human. All of people have to have chosen. Uh, Human rights means that we have the right to choose education, health, whatever. We have the right. The
You
plan have
do.
the right to choose. Not means that they oppose development. They want to accept development that is profit for long term for them and for future.
Okay.
Forest is forest. Money can be printed. Forest cannot be created. In forest, the forest is like our supermarket, our bank, and our hospital. Without forest, without good traditional medicine, everything will die. During for example, during the pandemic, people survived because of the medicines. They collected all the medicines, and there are hundred type of traditional medicine. They collect the smoke. All the smoke blew through inside the forest. That's why all the disease, all the what called COVID, they didn't attack the Penan. Many people call me, oh, why Penan now is trying to disappear into the forest again? Of course, they respect the authority, the distancing. What meaning distancing? That's why they went to the forest. Not, they are not run away. They were living in their territory. That's why the Penan or Magu want to stay in their territory. They don't want to encroach to other area. Like us, every in the city we have houses, we have fence. You cannot go to other people fence. You cannot drop other people garden. So the same to the Penan. People don't know the Penan living in the forest. We have our system of Molong. Molong preserve. We system of Molong. That means you preserve. Whoever own that particular plants or tea have the rights. However, we collective, we sharing. This is the tradition of the Penan people. It's peaceful people.
Uncle Komeok, thank you so much for speaking with me and for sharing some of the insights and your experiences in trying to get the UNESCO status. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Uncle. That was Komeok Joe from the grassroots Penan organization, Keruan. We're going to take a quick break here and consider this. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris. Let's continue our conversation about the challenges that Indigenous communities face when it comes to protecting not just their lands but also their way of life. Joining me now is Celine Lim. She's the Managing Director of Save Rivers, which is a grassroots NGO based in Sarawak that advocates for the rights of Indigenous communities, especially in relation to land rights and environment protection. Celine, thank you so much for being on the show with me. Welcome. I want to talk to you about the Penan community's campaign to protect Mago. I wonder what that highlights to you about the kind of broader challenges that Indigenous communities face in Sarawak when it comes to kind of safeguarding their land and also their culture.
I think what it really truly highlights, I mean, I could say the one thing that could really be the focal here is that whatever current setting that we have in either recognition of the indigenous territorial domains or our land rights, our tenure rights, is definitely not sufficient. It's also why you will see communities themselves in their initiative will try to engage in whatever platform there is out there to try to a recognizable standing on their territorial domains. So for me personally, if you're looking at this trend, it really shows that our current system is definitely not sufficient to cater to the worldview, to the way that indigenous communities look at tenure rights, stewardship, how they use natural resources, how they relate to the land, and so on.
Right. So by going through to UNESCO, by seeking the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve protection, I just wonder, is that going to help? Because the Penan have already expressed fears that without the UNESCO status, they might have their home forests be at risk from logging. Do you think that these types of international designations from bodies like the UN actually are effective tools in helping protect indigenous lands, or are there limitations?
First and foremost, I think we need to be realistic enough to understand that there is no such thing as a perfect tool, but these are tools nonetheless. So when indigenous communities engage with this platform and they run their own initiative, this is them exercising their self-determination. And I would like to reiterate that for Malaysia, we have signed on to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which entails them to express self-determination and exercise their territorial domain, their rights over the ancestral territorial domains. So what you are seeing here when it comes to Mago and even the Baram Peace Park, this is indigenous-led efforts in trying to engage tools that are made available, could it be nationally, regionally, or even internationally. So when communities do this is them expressing their self. So whether or not it is the best tool, these are tools nonetheless.
Celine, tell us about Baram Peace Park and also the kind of community mobilization that's trying to save it from logging.
All right. So gladly and happily, because that's really is the gist of the work that Save Rivers is doing. We are based in Miri, Sarawak, but the focal point or the focal area that we work in is Upper Baram. I myself am from Baram. I'm indigenous myself. I'm Kayan from Middle Baram. But a lot of the projects and the community with under the Baram Peace Park are all from Upper Baram. So there are 32 communities made out of the Penan, Saban, Kelabit, and Kenya. And these 32 communities, there is also a name that is officially used for Baram Peace Park. It is also known as the Upper Baram Forest Area. It is the International Tropical Timber Organization, ITTO endorsed initiative. And the model is a shared governance, where in the project steering committee, you would sit the government entities, the government sector. It could be forest department who is acting as the implementing agency. And you also have right holders, because that's the right terminology to use for indigenous people of the land. We are not stakeholders, we are rights holders. So you also have rights holders and the civil society organization that is advocating for the rights of indigenous people, and especially the ones that are working primarily in Upper Baram. So there you have it, UBFA or BPP in a nutshell. But what it is a template of how it looks like if communities were given a platform to be a part of sustainable managing their area, managing their forests, their rivers, their mountains, together with government agencies, right? So again, what we are working towards is a model, a template of how it looks like if community fully participated in the planning and the management of their area.
Okay. How long has that been happening, Celine? I'm just curious because I want to kind of plot or see what the evolution of the way Sarawak's policies towards indigenous concerns have evolved over the years. Are you seeing positive shifts, or do you think there's still a long way to go?
I would like to say there's still a long way to go. but we are at least working and talking to each other. There is still a lot of areas that we need to iron out. You need to understand that we did not come from a silo. There was a history behind everything that has happened. So as you know, Baram has been quite the hotspot for a lot of people's movement that are indigenous led, and one of it was the movement against, or resistant movement against the Baram mega hydro dam. So you need to understand that because of that, there is, in a way, there are tension still, but it's not something that could not be ironed out. But again, I will say where we are at now, there's definitely a lot that we need to work on. I think one of my encouragement to a lot of policymakers is that when it comes to crafting or drafting a policy, like right now I'm here in KL being a part of what is known as stakeholders engagement, or in Malay it is called Libat Urus, where we sit down with agencies or agents from government departments to talk about what can we do together as civil society and government agencies to come up with more robust, progressive laws and policy that define who we are really as Malaysian. So I look forward to the day that my Sarawak government will be able to look at us, civil society, as also right holders and stakeholders in the drafting of policies. So this is probably what you would look at as a mitigation against conflict even. So that is why sometimes you have such a reaction on the ground, because we were not brought to the table to begin with.
Right. But when it comes to indigenous communities, there's always been the struggle of the lack of free, prior and informed consent. So how do we ensure that bringing all the rights holders and stakeholders to the table is done in a meaningful way, that it's not kind of contravening the FPIC? How do we think about that?
By, again, continuously trying to engage. And I would say that it is definitely not a touch and go, not a once-off occasion. And when we talk about getting consent, it's most of the way that it is done, and I'm going back historically, is they would go down to the ground, have conversations, very likely just with Ketua Masyarakat, and they would say that that is consent. But when it comes to things that pertains to the communities that live there, community as a whole need to understand what is happening. So did we ensure that this information, even if you spoke to the Ketua Masyarakat, was there a mechanism to ensure that this information was also passed down fully and meaningfully to the majority? So this is the question that we would like to also put there, which is, if this involves the public, shouldn't the public be informed and are rightful to the information that pertains to whatever initiative, whatever project that is going to be happening in their area?
Right. Celine, so how can we help? What can we do to make sure and to highlight and be vocal about the fact that we do need to have everyone sitting at the table, and to make sure that these policies are not leaving some of us behind?
I think probably even for you, Melisa, as your role as a journalist, this is probably your capacity in giving us platform like this to talk about our experience, to talk about our lived experience in navigating this landscape. So right now, being a part of this show, this is me putting it out there to any maybe state actors or non-state actors, that they need to be a real collaborative sitting down together to listen to one another. And we have heard so much of a critique saying that NGOs are perpetuating this narrative where communities are left in the past. And over again, we say we're not against development. What we are against is when you decide what's going to happen in our area, what's going to happen to us, what's going to happen to our livelihood, without even having that meaningful conversation. We're humans just like everybody else. So sitting down, understanding where we're coming from and what is happening to us, and seeing us as equal, not just as tokenism, because that's what has happened in a lot of platform as well. But to be able to actually sit down and know that we bring substance to the table, we bring content to the table, and a worldview that right now the whole world is talking about sustainable development goals or even sustainability. It feels like it's the new sexy word. But can I also remind you that my ancestors has been living in a reciprocal way with the environment and natural resources and with one another. So basically, over and over again, you have here your local experts on what it looks like to live sustainably, to live reciprocally with their natural resources, and yet they're not at the table. So again, whoever that's listening to this is probably a plea that we can have a very progressive, a very positive conversation. We just need to be at the table together.
Celine, thank you for being at my table today. I appreciate your time and you sharing your experiences and your insights. Thank you. That was Celine Lim from Safe Rivers, wrapping up this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you for watching. Good night.